Hello and welcome. What the fuck? We'll just restart that. Blip, 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 blip. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Three's a Crime, a true crime podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Lindsay.
And that's our intro.
Here we are professional podcasters.
We're podcasters, bitches. Welcome to Three's a Crime.
True crime podcast.
We are professionals.
We are.
We are.
I love,
We are. Do you remember that song?
I even remember that song.
Let me tell you about
We
POD.
are.
Let me tell you about POD.
Oh, that's
How
right.
dare.
They were a religious band, right?
I loved them, and then they started doing that stuff.
The We Are.
They started doing real big hits.
I love, I gotta say that I love that guy posted on our YouTube and all the listeners fucking, like, were commenting on it, and Brittany's comment actually got flagged. She just told
What did
That's
Brittany
amazing.
say?
she sent me a
God.
screenshot
Brittany's
of
the
it.
best.
It's pretty funny.
She don't give a fuck.
No, she definitely threatened the guy.
Listen, guys, we're big girls. We
Yeah.
have our big girl panties on. We appreciate you standing
It
up
just
for
was
us.
Yeah.
so
You
funny.
don't get yourself in trouble over it because we don't care enough about.
Well, and
the
he
haters.
responded exactly how I wanted him to respond because he immediately was like, "Oh, it wasn't."
Walked it
making
back.
fun." Yeah, he
Yeah, he
immediately.
just put a big old
Funny.
paragraph. Big old paragraph.
Oh,
on
there it
that.
is.
But I
It's-
appreciate him coming back and clarifying.
She
Yes.
said,
Sir.
this is really aggressive. Have a seat, little dick. Let me listen to your podcast. Oh, don't have one? Shut the fuck up. I don't have time to kill him with kindness. I weight train so I can kill him for real.
Oh my god. Yeah, that'll get it flagged.
But we love you, Brittany.
Oh, thank you, Brittany.
And it
Listen up,
it's
little
just like
dick.
they removed the comment. She's like, they threatened to get rid of my Instagram. Oh my god, that was so funny.
But you know what? I was put in Twitter jail. I've told you.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, we've
when
all been.
When I was like, "You shoot my dog, I shoot you."
Yeah,
and
hey,
I
man.
stand by that. Don't
Yeah.
although, like, Goldie, while very sweet, would fuck somebody up.
She's useless as a mouse hunter.
Well,
You literally need.
I mean,
my-
she was so good at your house. I was convinced because she was just like, I
Oh,
mean,
that's right,
remember
I
she was like,
forgot.
I'm gonna get this mouse, and like we had to literally pull her, like pick her
Right.
up and bring her in the house. It's just the rustling that I hear that
Yeah.
she doesn't seem to care about that. So for you guys who don't know, I'm pretty sure that I have a mouse problem again. I had this problem 2 years ago. This is not uncommon
Yeah.
for this time of year, and while
Especially if
I
you have like an older house.
yeah, my house was built in 1937.
Yeah.
And so while I feel incredibly bad, they have gotten wise this time to the humane traps. Because
Do you think it's
I'm
the
finding
one-
them triggered, but no mouse inside.
Do you think it's the one that we released in the middle of the night has come back with its
Probably
family?
with his family,
killed me when you had
a chance. Yeah, he came
You
back with
need
his
to-
river family.
You need to tell that little story.
Oh, so
was
2
so
years
good.
ago, Lindsay and my good friend Heather were at my house and we were watching Hellier, which if you've not watched Hellier, it's
God,
an
please
amazing
watch right
documentary. Yeah, stop what you're. I mean, like Well, I
Documentary?
mean,
Is
yeah,
it a
it's
documentary?
a documentary.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I real. What's it on again?
Prime. Yeah, so it was on Amazon
It's
Prime.
about goblins and Kentucky goblins.
Yeah.
Crotch goblins.
Well, it starts to
Yeah.
be being about these Kentucky goblins. It's like an investigation, and then it goes.
It goes wild, but it's fascinating.
It's fascinating, also kind of creepy.
It's super fucking creepy.
It was, yeah. And so, like, not a show that you really want to watch by yourself.
No, in the
you know,
dark.
which is why there were 3 of us.
Yeah, because
But it
Tori
was-
did start it.
I did
alone.
start it by myself, and then I was telling everybody, "Oh my god, you guys have to watch this," and I got them sucked into it.
Yeah.
So this particular night, around 11:30, we hear one of the traps like click. And there's little Gus in the tube. Now, one of the things that I learned about if you humanely trap mice is that you have to take them
Like, really?
like
miles
more
away.
than 6 miles.
That is insane.
Because the little shits can find their way back to you.
How is that a thing?
I have no idea.
Their brain is the size of a pinky fingernail.
Yeah.
I just-
So if you've not seen the humane traps, we'll have to post a picture. They're like a long tube, and this was the first time I had used them. And there's a part in the back that is not easy to get off, but it slides off. And it has 2 holes in the bottom, and you're supposed to put like peanut butter or whatever up in there. And then the other side has a little trap door that once they go in,
they
it
just
snaps
can't get
up.
out. Right.
Well, I didn't realize that you're supposed to like turn the thing so that like the mouse is on the trapdoor part, and then you slide that off, and then you can dump out the mouse.
Okay.
So we try to push the mouse to the other end and put the trapdoor down, and so the mouse keeps trying to get out, and the trapdoor keeps going up, and it was a whole thing. And then finally, like the mouse kind of gets out. It jumps for it.
Oh my
And
God.
like Heather and I scream, and the mouse, hits the
11:30
ground,
at night.
takes off, and this is in the dark. We're down by the river,
Oh,
and we're in a
God.
very secluded spot.
Yeah, we're on Doomsday Hill, if you know anything about Doomsday.
Yeah, so we're on Doomsday Hill. Well, then all of a sudden, this car comes creeping in to where we are, stops, and just has its headlights on us.
Yeah. It was just straight up like, oh no, we're in a horror movie. Oh no, we're in a true crime
Yeah,
documentary. where
we got to get out of here.
was
So like we all
terrifying.
run back to the car, and
after we screamed about the mouse.
It was a whole situation.
Jesus.
So-
So it may have found its way back with its little mouse
That's what
family.
I
and
wanted
is-
to-
So, like, I'm afraid that they, it got some sort of river mutation, and it's come back with its river family, and yeah. But so I'm pretty sure because like I woke up and I heard the scritch, sounds like they're rooting around in something. But yeah, they've gotten wise. So I got the like no see 'em kill traps. So like they go in and it like
you just literally don't see it.
you just throw the whole thing away. And so I'm gonna live in a state of denial, like I do when I eat
Sometimes
food.
we have
Oh,
to.
Do you know what I mean?
to
Like,
live. Yeah.
like my hamburger just comes like this, right? It
We
didn't
grow
used to-
ground beef on a farm, and
Right.
it grows, and then it becomes
grows,
a hamburger.
Like this is beef patties tree,
I-
beef patty tree.
My dog, in fact, does love to
Yes,
capture mice.
she does.
Aries.
Yes, Eris. I have the pictures of her literally where just a mouse tail is like hanging out of her fucking mouth.
God.
No, I've seen far. I don't need to see it because I've seen far too many pictures
Oh my god.
She is
of
a
Eris and her kills.
she's just a cat. She's just a big old cat.
She is.
She is. She is a dog
way
that
she
We started
acts.
calling her Eris the cat. She's a cat. She only
Yeah.
likes to be touched when she wants to be touched, and she's an asshole 99%
She
of
likes
the
to
time.
jump up in your lap.
Yeah, she jumps up in your lap. Well, my husband wears steel toe boots, right? And this mofo, when we lived in our old house, we had mice there all the fucking time. And our old house didn't have like a pantry in the kitchen. It was just like a closet thing that we bought. And you could always hear them like behind it.
Yeah, it's the worst. That scritchy noise
Is like, you know what
You
it
know what
fucking
it
is.
is.
Yep.
Well, my fucking husband. You want to know what his...
Oh, does he stomp him?
I won't fucking let him, but he tells me that's what he's... Literally the first time I'm like, oh my god, there's a mouse, and he grabs his fucking boot, and I was like, the fuck you are? Like,
Yeah.
we will go buy traps, and I
Yeah.
don't even... Ours were not humane, they definitely... But I
old
will not
school.
touch
Ours-
it. I
Yeah,
like...
see,
had
and
to-
that's the thing. If I
Ours wasn't humane either. But Bren didn't squish it.
Oh my god, my
well,
husband's a monster. Who the fuck does that?
well, my boss yesterday was like, "Have you tried the sticky traps?" And I'm like, "No, I can't."
Those are
like,
horrible.
That is like so inhumane.
Yeah, that's-
There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean,
so-
killing it the way you kill it is the
but-
most humane way you can
But
get rid of them.
technically, even the humane traps, like having them out, like if you got the one during the day, like say if you were at work, that's actually kind of torture for them too. They can't be confined, and like they can have heart attacks and die from being confined. So
Either
you
way.
can't. So PETA's like, if you use these traps, you have to make sure that you check them like every 2 hours. Like, there's a
Fucking PETA,
time.
though.
I didn't say it. Emily said
Fucking PETA.
that. Anyway, so before we get
These
PETA
comments
on us,
are the comments of Emily. And
do not
we're both
necessarily
scared
reflect the
of
opinions
being
of
sued.
Lindsay and
PETA.
Tori.
Fucking PETA. Fucking PETA.
Well, so I don't know if you've ever heard this story. I know Lindsay has. So I had heard the mice, the 2 years ago, but how I had confirmation that there was a mouse in the house. So my house was built, like I said, in 1937, and it used to have radiators, which at some point during renovations over the years were taken out, but they left the little holes, these little radiator holes that were in my floor. And so one day I'm like watching TV, and Penny gets up and she's like over in the corner and she's like trying to get at something. So I get up and look, and here is the fattest mouse had come up through one of those radiator holes, had chewed on the wires to like my TV antenna and like my electric fireplace. So there's like bits of that. But he got so fat. And this was the original Gus because I was like, this is a dumb mouse.
Oh my God.
He'd gotten so fat, he was now stuck in the hole like Winnie the Pooh trying to get out of Rabbit's door.
Oh my God.
So I'm calling my friends and I'm like, what do I do? And I don't remember who said it, but somebody was like, washcloth and a hammer. And I was like, absolutely not. There is no way. So I do get the washcloth. So here's me. I'm trying to keep the dogs away. And there's a mouse. And I'm looking at this mouse and I have the washcloth and I'm like, what do I do? And the little mouse, no shit. This is not a lie. This is not an exaggeration. The little mouse takes his two little mousy paws and goes, like reaches them out to me. Like, help me.
No.
Oh no.
So I put the washcloth over Gus. And I wiggle.
Right.
And then finally he's out, but now he's out and he's in my hand. And then I scream and I drop him because he's wiggling. And that little shit takes straight off and immediately is disappeared back into the house again.
My dogs got a bird once.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
How the fuck do you get a
I
bird?
was gonna say.
And Eris was just running around the yard with him in her fucking mouth. And I called my husband and I said, you better leave fucking work, come home and take care of this, because I'm not taking care of it. And he was like, I can't. He's like, I can't take care of it until I get home. And I'm like, well, and he told me, go get a big rock and close your eye. It was like, it couldn't fucking fly. And he's like, you got to go get a big rock and just like drop it. And I was like, I can't. So I'm going to be honest. I just kept Eris out there with the bird and let nature take its course because I was like, this is natural selection. Okay.
I would have done the same if Bren wasn't there.
I was like, I know it's the humane thing to do, but like, I can't. Like, I just can't do it. And I'm just going to completely pretend like what's happening is not happening.
Yeah, and then one day, was it Goldie? One of the dogs came in and dumped something on the floor. And I thought it was like a stick or like a piece of fabric or something. And then I look and I realize it is mouse that I am hoping was dead.
Oh, God.
So I'm like, no. And I go to get it. And Hodor scoops the fucking thing up in his mouth because it's something he's not supposed to have. So immediately he has to have it. Yep. So then I'm trying to get Hodor, I'm trying to get Cookies to be like, Cookie, drop it. And then I had to pick the thing up with a plastic bag and tied it up and threw it away. And then I like go back to work and I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I think mice can play dead.
They can.
So then I go out and I'm like,
it's like my worst fear.
I like tied the bag super tight and took it straight out to the trash can. 100%. And I'm like, figure it out.
I know it's a fucking fine line.
Terrible podcast.
This is a terrible podcast. Let's talk about death and murder and destruction.
Let's talk about human
because
craziness,
human
too much
traps,
human traps.
So Today, we are going to travel back in time to 1946. Okay, you're doing the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Oh, I am?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I liked it together. It was a nice little harmony.
Yeah. No, you guys did fabulous.
You're gonna flag us.
We're gonna talk about 3 people in this story today. It's gonna center our 3 main characters today.
Okay.
Oh my God! Hi, McKenna.
Hi, McKenna.
Hi, honey.
We love you.
How are
You're the
you?
best.
So today we're going to talk first about Pearl. So Pearl Lusk was her name. She was born Pearl Mullen on January 12th, 1927 in New Jersey.
Daisy.
She
Jimtown Laundry. I knew someone named Pearl. She taught herself how to play the piano when she was 4 years old. She lived till she was almost 100.
Jesus.
She was a friend of my grandma's, yeah, and she would play the piano, this incredible, like, symphony of music that she just taught herself when she was 4.
She wasn't that lady that they interviewed on the news that then became like a meme.
No. She was like local here.
Yeah, local here. It was like, it ended up being like national. They went and visited this lady that turned 100 in the nursing home, and she's
Oh, Jesus.
Tori.
Jesus.
she's like drinking her coffee. And she's sitting like this, and then they're like, and the newscaster is like so bubbly, and then she's like, "Are you so excited to be 100?" And the lady goes, "No." And then she's
That's
like, "Well,
us.
how's your coffee? Is it good?" And she's like, "No."
Oh my God.
It's hysterical.
110th birthday.
Jesus.
Flossie Dickey.
That's it. That's
Oh my
it.
God,
That's
what
the
an
one. Please
amazing
play
name.
it.
Her name is
Flossie.
Flossie.
Flossie Dickey.
We'll post this, but here, let's see if we can get her to just talk.
It's so funny.
Good morning. Yes, we are out here at the Cheney Care Center, and I am sitting next to the woman on the front page
Yeah,
of
they
the
do it first.
Spokesman Review this morning. This is Flossie Dickey, and check it out,
Oh my
folks.
God,
We got her very own Good Days Spokane coffee mug. She is enjoying some coffee this morning because, Flossie, you say you're a little tired this morning. Is that right?
I am tired.
She is very tired. That's actually, I heard, your favorite activity to do at the center here is to take a little nap.
Take a nap many times as I can.
As many times as she can, she likes to take a nap. Flossie has 3 children. You have 12 grandchildren, 20 great-grandchildren, and 15 great-great-grandchildren. You sound like a very busy lady.
Nothing.
She has lived in multiple places in the Northwest, even lived in Arizona.
Let's get one more out of her and then-
from Oregon. That's where she was born. And Flossie, this morning we also have some flowers that we would like to give you. She got her nails done. I don't know if you can see, but they're a beautiful pink. Pink and purple, we heard, were your favorite colors. So I'm just going to set those on your lap for you.
So unamused.
And
This poor interviewer.
I'll hold on. How about that? So that they see. Later today, Flossie's family is going to be coming out here to throw you a big birthday party.
Wow.
I mean, it goes on.
I was
You
gonna
got
say
it?
it's like a 3-minute.
Yeah, it's like a 3-minute video. We'll post it, but it's so good.
Struggling to have
I mean,
a
she's so
conversation
trying, and like
with
you obviously can't see it, but like they went to give her flowers, and Flossie
And
doesn't
she just
move.
didn't
She
even-
does not care about those flowers. She
No.
does not want those flowers.
She's holding her coffee cup too,
She's
like
just
yeah.
embracing it like it's protecting her.
Tired.
I try to take as many
my God, her
naps as
favorite thing to do
possible.
is take naps.
Naps,
I
yeah.
take as many naps as I can.
Listen.
So I'm just gonna start. This over.
Sorry.
No, it's totally fine because this is great. All right, so Pearl Lusk was born Pearl Mullen, and she was born January 12th, 1927 in New Jersey. She grew up as a ward of the state at the Community Children's Home in Quakertown, PA.
Oh, did you know that prior to telling this story?
I did not.
Oh.
She attended the local high school, but dropped out in the 10th grade. Lusk had been her mother's maiden name, so it's unclear. I couldn't figure out when she had changed her name from Mullen to Lusk, but at some point she did.
My 5th grade teacher was a Mr. Lusk.
I knew some Lusks growing up as well.
I've never heard of a Lusk. So,
Well.
You know, in fact, I should have reached out to them and been like,
hey
is this
guys.
a relative of yours? Because
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. Anyway, in the fall of 1946, Pearl decided to leave the small town behind her and set off for New York City.
Ooh, the Big Apple.
Yes. For a time, she lived with her mother and her stepfather in Brooklyn. And just as a side note, I wasn't able to find out, like I couldn't find anything about why she'd been left as a ward of the state in Pennsylvania, but clearly she'd kept in touch enough with her mother to know where she was. But given that she was born in 1927, I'm assuming it had something to do with the Depression. Like, for example, my grandfather spent time in an orphanage as a child because my great-grandfather, who we're going to cover later in a Patreon story, was in prison. And she had several children. She literally just couldn't afford to have all of the children at home.
I have heard that they would give them.
Yeah.
Oma
And so-
had 9 brothers and sisters, and her brother were put in an orphanage for a little while.
Yeah.
And then her mom like came and got them back a couple years later.
Well,
It's
so
wild.
basically, and it's awful because the orphanage was called something like Lady of Perpetual Sorrow or something.
Oh,
Oh, those
God.
kinds of school. They have schools, Catholic
Yeah.
schools
Yeah.
and shit with that
And
name.
you know, my
Lady
grandfather,
of Perpetual
both of my
Sorrow.
grandparents were Catholic, and so that makes sense. But
Mm-hmm.
I have these receipts that they had given her at the orphanage. So my great grandmother Cora, she had to pay $2 a week to have him stay at this orphanage.
Whoa.
And like, so there's receipts about, you know, with like, where she bought him new shoes, or
Oh my god, how
just
fascinating to look
or
at
like
those.
you know a week that she was only able to pay like $1.25, so then the next week she had to pay $3. They're incredibly sad, and like
Jesus.
I mean,
You
just,
have
like,
them?
I do.
You'll have to bring them when you tell your
Yeah,
grandfather's story,
story. It's
because
just
that
like,
would be fun
it's-
to look through. That's
I mean,
wild.
it's just, but they're, you know, there's a heaviness like that just comes
Yeah.
off of the paper. It's just really sad because I can't imagine what it was like for my great grandmother to like have to make that, you know, that decision and not see her child all the time. And yeah. So anyway.
Well, and I'm pretty sure you could like because of mental health stuff was so obviously not a thing then. That what would be considered like
I mean,
what's
they
it
would
called?
slap you. They would.
What's it called when you're
corporal
depressed after
punishment?
having a
Oh,
baby?
Postpartum.
Like postpartum was like fucking a crazy woman or whatever, and you could
you could get put away by your
Yeah.
husband.
yeah, and you could
Absolutely.
like basically under a lot of circumstances
They would just- there were
you
a-
could give your kids away or
Right. Well,
block
and
your
there were a
Wi-Fi.
lot of women who had a variety of different things going on that were all just labeled as hysteria.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
that's the
And-
word I was trying to think.
yeah.
So I
of.
think
they're
they're just like
hysterical.
ready to take your fucking kids, I guess.
Right.
She's
Well,
hysterical.
and I mean, there's a very famous picture from the Depression of a woman and her kids, and then a sign saying "children for sale."
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
selling
yeah.
their kids because they just
crazy.
couldn't afford. I
That's
mean,
what
it was
would
the
do.
Depression.
I would immediately sell my baby to a back alley.
Back alley sale.
I'm telling you.
This is why none of us have children yet. I mean,
Yep.
like
I would
Lindsay will
find-
be a good mom.
Lindsay will be a good mom. Tori and I would
no,
not.
We would not. We are good aunties.
If I
well,
get
I'm
pregnant,
a good auntie. You're.
I'm not. I will teach your kid how to smoke weed. If
That's
I'm
fine.
like, if I ever get pregnant, my first goal is to find a nice gay couple in fucking
somewhere to
yeah,
give it
bitch,
to.
yeah, bitch.
Anyway, 19-year-old Pearl, with her blonde hair and youthful vitality, found a job as a shop girl at the Oppenheimer Collins department store in Manhattan.
That is
Oh, that's
fancy.
bougie.
Yeah, so now she had a job of her own, steady income.
19, living in New York
19,
City, girl.
right?
Get
she
it,
was,
girl.
and now with this job, she was able to get the fuck out of Brooklyn and her mom's house.
girl, you get it.
She ended up renting herself a room on the Upper West Side.
Mm.
The rent
Wow.
was $5 a week.
That's insane.
Jesus
And I actually
Christ.
wrote this like, inflation blows my mind.
It's
Yeah.
like,
fascinating.
I know that this story is like 80 some years ago, but it's just like 80 years from $5 to like an Upper West Side apartment now.
Oh my god.
Oh my
could
fucking
you
God.
could you imagine?
No.
I cannot.
If you live in New York, tell us how much an Upper West Side apartment is, because
Right.
I am willing to bet
Yeah,
that
because my only experience is from Gossip Girl,
Well,
of knowing how much that.
and
And
it's
it's like
like-
a lot of money.
I
I'm
mean,
assuming.
my friend
Those
had
people on
my
TikTok.
friend had an apartment in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens, and it was like $2,000 a month. Anyway, on Thanksgiving Day, this is Thanksgiving Day 1946, while riding the subway to go visit her mother in Brooklyn, Pearl met a handsome stranger.
Oh, no.
He introduced himself as Alan LaRue, and he invited her out for a drink.
Alan LaRue. Is
That's
he the
right.
grandfather of Lawler?
Oh, just
LaRue.
wait.
Just kidding. That was a
You will rue the day you met me. That was a vocabulary word in 6th grade.
She found him very handsome.
Oh, no.
But this was a time when you didn't just go out with a man that you met on the subway, and Pearl was a good girl who would never consider dating a man to whom she hadn't been introduced.
Oh my
Quote,
God.
good
She
girl.
was getting bolder, though, because remember, this is a small town girl in the big city.
Yeah.
So she traded her blonde bangs for tousled curls.
Oh.
She tried a
Wow.
new shade of lipstick, and for the first time, she
Whoa.
began wearing mascara, which was
Whoa.
something she had never done before.
Whoa, she's getting wild.
She's getting buck wild.
She was. And Pearl loved living in New York. She quickly made friends with the other shop girls, and they would all dine together every day at the soda fountain. And she went out with these friends at night. Like, they'd go out in, like, big group.
Have you ever seen the movie Shop Girl with Claire Danes and Steve Martin?
No.
You should.
Okay.
It reminds me. It's
Is it going to start with, a man sucking
No.
the blood out of a chicken? Because...
all right. I forgot. Okay, because I looked away. I told Tori to watch Nightmare Alley because it's so great. It's based in the 1940s.
Right. And I
It
love
has like
Del Toro.
it's beautiful, but like the beginning, there's a geek in a old school carnival would bite the heads off of chickens.
Yeah, I didn't...
And yeah,
Yeah, I didn't handle it well, and
I forgot all
immediately
about
texted
that.
her, and I'm like, "What the fuck did you tell me to watch?"
I was like, just keep going because
I
then you
don't
don't see anything
handle-
else like that.
Right? I mean, like, yeah, I don't handle.
So warning and spoiler if you want to
spoiler.
watch that movie.
It is literally in the first 3 minutes
Yeah.
of the movie, so
But
it's not really a
such
spoiler. But
God, it's such a good movie.
yeah, I wasn't prepared.
She was not.
Anyway,
Go on.
Pearl loved living in New York. Oh, I had said that.
She put on mascara.
She put on
She did.
mascara.
She's getting
Well,
bold.
and so she is getting bold. She's made friends.
She's living
going
her
out.
best fucking life.
She's
Hell yeah.
living her best life. Now, in research for this, I found an article. I found a few articles, but there's one that was in the New Yorker that is just like a treasure trove and a beautiful. And that's actually, I found that article first, which is actually how I
Found
knew about
story.
this story. So I relied a lot on that and some other articles, but we'll link it in the show notes because you should read the whole story. Anyway, she had started to go on dates with some of her young male colleagues, and so much so that like the landlady was having to call her to the phone.
Oh,
Quite frequently.
She was getting lots of male
She was
gentleman callers.
She was a very pretty young thing. When she wasn't out with her friends or one of her handsome young dates, she enjoyed reading the 25-cent edition of novels and especially detective stories.
Oh
Hell
my
yeah.
girl.
Like, I have a feeling if she was like around today,
She'd have a
totally be into-
podcast.
yeah, she'd totally be
She
into
sounds
true
like
crime
it.
podcasts. So, and it's funny that our like, you know, humanity's sort of fascination with that.
Oh, it's
I mean,
forever
you know.
we've been fascinated with true crime. I mean,
Right.
like public hangings and all that shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
people took their kids to hangings
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
shit like that. It was like a spectacle. Going bowling. You want to go to triple play or do you want to go to the hanging downtown?
Let's just do both.
yeah.
She occasionally thought of the handsome man that she had met on the subway, wondering like, oh, should I have gone? But overall, she was loving life with her new friends and just life in the big city. Then, on Christmas Eve of 1946, things took a turn. Pearl and several other shop girls were laid off. The Christmas rush was over, and so the department store had let them go.
Did you just say it was on or the day after Christmas?
It
or
is
whatever?
on Christmas Eve.
Come on,
Jesus.
guys.
Right.
Fuck you.
And then that same day, her landlady told her that she was tired of having to call Pearl to the phone every time
I
one of
was
her
wondering
suitors
if
called.
she was gonna be a bitch about
Oh,
it.
she was.
She's
and
like, are you calling for Pearl?
Right. And so she was like, I'm only going to call you to the phone if your mother Stella is on the line.
Oh.
So in one fell swoop, on Christmas Eve.
Oh,
Pearl
God.
had lost her social circle and her livelihood. She definitely didn't want to have to give up her room that she had decorated with pink curtains in the window and this lavender coverlet that she had put on her little studio sofa where she would read her detective stories. I know, it was so sad, right? I mean, it's just like,
Jesus.
you know, and it was, she didn't want to have to go back to Brooklyn and live with her mom and her stepdad.
Yeah.
But maybe she wouldn't have to. On Boxing Day, 1946, and that's the day after Christmas, for those of you that don't know what Boxing Day is, fate
Why is it called-
stepped...
I didn't mean to interrupt right
why?
as you were. Yeah, why is it called Boxing Day?
Because apparently it comes from
I looked it up. And I
the
don't even
European... It's like
remember.
in England
That's
and that
sad.
kind of area. It was like the day that the rich aristocratic families would give... the staff,
Oh,
like
right,
the
you give,
upstairs,
like-
downstairs, they would give them
Or
a
like
present.
your doorman if you live in an apartment in New
Yeah,
York
you
or
would give
something,
them
right.
a present, and then they had the day off, so you would give them a box, so Boxing Day. Anyway, on this day in 1946, fate stepped into Pearl's life when she ran into that handsome man, Alan LaRue, again on the subway. This time she was coming from her mother's house, and so when he asked her for a drink that second time, she consented, and they got off at Times Square and headed to a restaurant on 14th Street. She ordered her favorite drink of scotch and 7-Up.
Nice.
So they were just kind of chit-chatting, and, you know, they talked about Pearl losing her job and the trouble she was having with her landlady, and he seemed sympathetic. As they talked, though, she felt like a shift in his demeanor. At first, he appeared to be interested in her in the, like, kind of way. But then, as the conversation went on, he was acting a little bit differently. So after talking for a bit, Alan tells Pearl that he has a job for her if she's interested.
Oh, no.
He told her he was a private eye. He was
No.
hired by an insurance company that specialized in insuring jewelry and also recovering said jewelry if it was stolen from their clients.
Is this some Tinder swindler bullshit?
I was going to say, are his enemies coming
Are
in?
his enemies coming?
Just listen. He said he was currently investigating a case of stolen jewels, and the suspect was a 28-year-old woman named Olga Trapani.
Oh, Olga.
Olga was the private secretary to the owner of the Croydon Hat Company. He told Pearl that this woman knew him by sight. So he told her that, you know, that he had been following this woman, but he noticed that she noticed him, and it was like, shit, I've been made kind of thing. So he couldn't be seen by her again, or she might know that somebody was onto her and she might stash the jewels, or worse, dump them, and then they could, you know, never be recovered.
Yeah.
Alan offered her the job of his assistant, and it would be her job to trail the woman and collect evidence against her for the insurance company, because he was like, the police won't help us until we can prove that she has the jewels. And I imagine Pearl's head was exploding at this point because she loved detective stories, and here she's being offered, like, her dream job
Live it.
as, you know, Pearl, P.I.
That's awesome.
Right?
That's really
So-
cute.
Pearl excitedly woke up for her first day of work. She wore her best dress and her favorite hat. Alan instructed Pearl to meet him around the corner from a building on 39th Street, and she would receive her first assignment. So her first assignment was to go up to the offices of the hat company and ask if Miss Sadie White was there. Now, there was no Sadie White working in that office, but he said while she was talking to the receptionist, she'd be able to kind of scan the room, you know, clock Olga and know so that she would be able to recognize her if she saw her again. Alan told Pearl that Olga sat just outside the private door that led to the owner's office. He then showed Pearl a picture of Olga, but he told her it was important for her to see Olga in person so that she would be sure to recognize her in a crowd, particularly a subway crowd. And that once she was sure that she could recognize her, he wanted Pearl to follow her around the rest of the day. He then instructed her to go up, and when she was done, to come back down and meet him and let him know if she thought she'd gotten a good enough look to be able to tail Olga. So Pearl set off on her first mission. She returned, telling Alan that not only had she seen Olga, but she had also memorized the clothes she was wearing and her hat and coat, which had been hanging near her desk.
Girlfriend was ready for
She
this.
was like, I've been training my whole life for this.
Yeah.
She told him that she felt she'd be able to recognize Olga anywhere. Alan was like, good job, kid. It was very cute. And then he gave her a second assignment. So he told her to take the afternoon off, go to the movies, whatever. But to be sure not to tell anyone because, you know, it's New York, everybody's listening. He's very concerned about tipping off Olga. Then he said to meet her at his apartment on 17th Street at 3:30, and he would tell her exactly how they were going to prove that Olga had the jewels.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
So that's what Pearl does. She goes to a double feature, then she goes to visit some friends who still worked at the department store that she'd been laid off from, and at 3:30, she showed up at Alan's apartment. He then divulged his plan to catch Olga.
Oh, God, is it just a fucker and run?
He showed Pearl a funny-looking object. An object that looked like a shoebox with a hole in one end. It was wrapped in brown paper.
Are you
Was it a dick in a box?
A dick in a box? Oh my god! Or like a glory hole or something. Oh my fucking god! What's
The
in the
women that I do
box?
this podcast with
Are immediately
disturbed.
inappropriate.
They're disturbed and
What's
inappropriate.
in the
Ooh,
box?
what's in the box? It's a dick.
It's a dick.
Got my dick out of the
Tommy
box.
Lee's dick.
So the shoebox had a hole in one end, and it was wrapped in brown paper. It just looked like a package that you would mail.
Was it a package with a package in it?
Just wait. He told Pearl it was an X-ray camera. All she had to do was point the package at Olga, pull the wire, and it would take a picture that would show them if she had the jewels. Alan's theory was that
terrifying.
Olga had sewn the jewels on the inside of her dress. Like, yeah. And so that she should aim the camera at her waist because that's probably like where she had them sewn in.
I hate this. All of this.
So all she had to do was point the package at Olga, pull the wire, and it would take a picture that would show them if she had the jewels. And one of the articles I read, it was also a podcast, which so the podcast that I'm actually just gonna read this from here because I think it's so cool. The podcast is called Useless Information: Fascinating True Stories from the Flip Side of History.
Great title. 10 out of 10.
That is a great title.
10 out of 10, you guys.
So, this is how they start out the story. On December 22nd of 1895, Wilhelm Röntgen, I don't know, took the world's first medical x-ray in which one could clearly see the bones of his wife Bertha's hand and her wedding ring.
Oh, I remember seeing. Okay.
I
I've
love
seen
this. Upon viewing the picture, she commented, "I have seen my death." Isn't that fabulous? Well, because, I mean, like, you know, she's
Yeah.
seen
Yeah.
her bones in her hand, but it
Yeah.
also captured her wedding ring. So, I mean, the fact that there would be an x-ray camera that you could point,
Wasn't too
like,
far off.
it
You never
could
know.
work.
I mean, like now, there's so many random gadgets we don't know about.
Yeah, no,
so-
absolutely.
It's probably an X-ray fucking app on your phone now.
I'm sure.
Probably. So, again, Alan was very clear that Pearl should be behind Olga when she took the picture so that Olga wouldn't know that the picture had been taken. He also suggested that she should take it kind of right as Olga was getting off the train in Brooklyn where she lived. That way she could line herself up kind of right behind her and follow her off the train. But it was also like, you're going to need to make sure that you're no more than 2 or 3 feet away, or else the picture's not going to come out. So
Jesus, this is a lot of work.
It's a lot of, yeah.
yeah,
Good Lord.
You got if you don't get the right photo, you're fucked.
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is it's like a one
Yeah.
You
Like
have one
one
chance
shot.
to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
deal.
If you fuck it up or
Right.
get caught, you can't do it
And
again.
yeah, and like Pearl is desperate to do a good job. Like she's so excited
Yeah.
about this job that she wants to do really well at it. So then she was supposed to come back and meet Alan at the restaurant that they had gone to previously, like when he hired her, and turn over the camera. And he said he would have the photo developed like that night. So Pearl enthusiastically went off to complete mission number 2. At around 5 p.m., Pearl saw Olga leave the office and followed her to the Times Square station and boarded the train to Brooklyn. She sat just a little ways away from Olga, and then, as instructed, she followed close behind Olga as they were disembarking. She lined herself up and snapped the photo. She then caught a train back to Times Square station and met Alan at the restaurant. Alan then debriefed her. How did she take the picture? How close had she been? Did Olga notice anything? Pearl advised that she had only been about 2.5 feet from Olga and that Olga hadn't noticed a thing. And again, he's like, good job, kid. Like, very proud, you know. And then Alan said he would get the picture developed that night and to meet him at his apartment in the morning, and he'd let her know how it turned out. So the next morning, Alan's like, hey, the photo did not turn out. But he's like, I don't think it was your fault. I think it was the camera. I think we need a better one. But it might take him. Yeah, it's going to take me a couple days to get one. He told her to wait 3 days and then call him.
Amazon takes typically about 3 days, so you gotta
3
wait
to
for
4
it to come
days.
in.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we can try this shindig over again.
Right. So when she called, Alan was like, hey, I got the new camera. I want you to meet me at the Automat near Union Station at 8 a.m. on New Year's Eve. Okay. So Pearl arrives, and this time she noticed that the camera was heavier and bigger than the one he had given her previously, which is like, okay, that makes sense. Like, we need a stronger camera to be able to get this picture. So this time, the box looked more like a present. It was wrapped in red and green paper that said Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, but it had the same wire loop on the bottom. Alan told her to go to the Brooklyn station and to follow Olga onto the train, sit as close to her as she could. He then told her to take the picture as Olga would be getting off the train at Times Square, just as she had done in Brooklyn, and reminded her again, aim it low at the waist, because he said, quote, that's probably where she's carrying the jewels pinned inside the dress at her waist. Pearl did exactly as she was instructed. Like, this girl, like, could follow a plan.
She fucking knows.
She does. So when the train pulled into the station, Pearl positioned herself behind Olga, and as she followed her through the door of the train, she pulled the wire, and boom.
I was, when you told me about the first one, I was like, when she pulls the wire, is she gonna,
I was like, oh,
something
God, is she
gonna
explode?
fly out, or
yeah, something.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So Olga screams and falls on her back. Her left leg had nearly been blown off. Pearl, who was directly behind Olga,
was having a shit fit.
Well, she's been splattered. She's so close to Olga, she's been splattered with blood.
Jesus.
A security guard runs up, and he's like, what happened? What happened? And Pearl was like,
I have no fucking
I just
idea.
took this woman's picture, and somebody shot her. Meanwhile, the scene's, chaotic. So a man comes up, and he begins to wrap Olga's leg in a tourniquet, and the police show up. One of them grabs Pearl. One of them grabs the package. They rip it open. Inside, a sawed-off shotgun.
Oh, boy.
In that moment, Pearl understood what had just happened.
Oh, my God.
And began to cry. She turned and said to Olga, I'm so sorry I shot you. There was this new job, you see, and I thought I was taking your picture with an X-ray camera. Olga, is down on the ground, and she's not
She literally
really,
can't even comprehend.
She's not connecting.
No.
She
probably
whatever.
doesn't even know her leg's almost blown off.
Right. And
girl probably trying to stand up.
So she says kind of to no one in particular in what the New Yorker article described as a tone of resignation. Well, he got me this time. Now if he wants me, he can take me. I'm crippled. I wonder what happened to the police. He must have been too smart for them.
Oh, no.
A patrolman asked Olga, why did this woman shoot you? To which Olga replied, you fool, she didn't shoot me. My husband did.
Oh!
So now we move on to part 2.
Whoa!
Wow.
I just got fat goosebumps all over. Tori's like,
I'm so excited.
This is why we love Tori stories.
Yep, this fucking goddamn bitch.
So now we're going to get to Olga. This is Olga's part of the story.
Olga.
Love that name.
So Olga
Me too.
had been waiting for something to happen.
Sure fucking sounds that way.
Well, as you may have guessed, Alan LaRue was not a private eye.
Was he even named Alan LaRue?
My next sentence, he wasn't even Alan LaRue.
Not even Alan LaRue.
Alan the dude.
Yeah.
The dude.
Right.
Yes.
Husband Bren just got
Husband
here.
Bren is here.
His real name was Alphonse Rocco, and he
Alphonse.
was Olga's estranged husband.
Alphonse Rocco, man. That's a
Alphonse.
All
name.
these names are 10 out of 10 names.
Yeah.
Olga had met Rocco at a dance in Brooklyn in 1944, and they married shortly after meeting. He would often disappear for weeks at a time and then show back up at home with either lots of money and a new car, or return with nothing and be in a foul mood and accuse Olga of running around with other men.
Oh, wow. Did he have to go be an FBI agent for a special mission that only he can do?
Right. No, but he did enjoy hunting and camping and would sometimes take off by himself, go up to the Catskills, taking a sleeping bag and a shotgun. Olga didn't really know much else about her estranged husband. He had been evasive about his background, and he was always vague with like her and her family about what he did to make a living. After some violent fights, just 6 months into the marriage,
Jesus.
Okay,
Olga
Kim
had enough.
Kardashian.
Yeah, Olga had enough. Olga Kardashian, and left him. To say that Rocco didn't take Olga leaving him well would kind of be an understatement.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very shortly after she left him, the death threats began. He told her, quote, "You'll never belong to another man.
Ew.
I'll kill you first."
No.
But Olga was a 1940s bab, and she was undeterred, and she sure as shit had that marriage annulled.
Fuck yeah.
She dropped his name and just wanted to move on with her life. But since leaving him, Rocco didn't stop with the death threats. He'd call her place of work daily. He was always like lurking around outside her parents' house or near her office. She'd like see him when she'd be on her way home from work. He'd frequently tell her that he would go to the chair before he would let her be with anybody else.
Oh my God. Go fuck yourself, bro.
Prior to the shooting, like just days before, he had left a message with the operator where she worked. What was that message? To tell her to start praying.
No.
In addition to the hell he'd already put her through up until this point, he also kidnapped her several times.
Oh.
Often at knife point or gunpoint.
Oh, that's good.
He would take her to like a rented cabin in the hills and would keep her for days at a time against her will. Like
Robert
one time,
Hansen. Oh my God.
That's all I keep thinking.
Go to Patreon to listen to The Butcher Baker of Alaska to understand that reference.
Patreon exclusive.
Patreon exclusive.
One time he took her to Poughkeepsie. So I guess like I think she was like coming home from work or something, and he was like, "Well, I'll take you home." And I think she was like, "No." And they pulled it. I don't know. There was like a bunch of times, but anyway, this time he took her to Poughkeepsie. Rented a cabin, took her clothes so that she couldn't leave, and he held her prisoner for 3 days.
Oh my fucking God, dude.
Then on the third day, he decided, okay, well, we're going to go back to the city. But then the whole way home, he was telling her that if she didn't come back to him, that he was going to shoot her and then himself.
Of course.
However, she managed to escape. After she broke free, she would have friends that would accompany her like to work, home from work, places she needed to be. And she had the operator at her job, like when he would call, like she was like, "Don't put him through, just take a message." And Rocco would leave her messages like, "Tell Olga it's only a matter of time. Tell her sooner or later, I'll get her." So Olga clearly had reason to worry.
Yes.
Rocco was an outdoorsman. Like I said, he loved to hunt and camp. He had an affinity for guns, and he owned several. Friends encouraged Olga to go to the police, but she was worried that it was just going to make things worse, so she really resisted for a while doing that. Even so, finally, she had gone to the police to beg for help. Every time, she would get the same detective whose solution to this torment was to tell Olga, quote, not to worry. One night, while Olga was helping her mother with dinner, she felt a stinging pain in her leg, and when she looked down, blood was streaming down her leg. A bullet had been fired through a window, aka Dr. Dick.
I was also thinking of Dr. Dick. Fuck.
Wow.
Dr. Dick fuck.
Dr. Dick fuck.
Yeah, so the bullet had been fired through a window and had struck her leg. She was in the hospital for 10 days. And after that, she was assigned some detectives, but clearly this proved to be for naught. So, the New Yorker article has one of the transcripts from one of Olga's questionings. So I'm going to read that now. So this is a conversation between the police and Olga.
Is it two people talking?
Yeah.
Do you want someone else to read the second
roll
part?
over here?
It's like I get to watch a fucking theater. I'm in theater. Okay, so Lindsay's voicing Olga.
I will be
Tori's
Olga.
doing the detective.
Detective. Okay.
When were you married, Olga, and what was the name of your husband?
His name was Alphonse Rocco. And we were married for about a year we were married about a year and a half ago on May 14th, 1945.
Did you separate from your husband?
Yes.
And when was it that you separated?
About April of 1946.
And where did you live at that time?
I lived at 1434 57th Street in Brooklyn
Tons of numbers there.
Who did you live there with?
with my parents and a married sister and her husband and daughter.
Now, how far is your home from the subway station?
I would say it is about 4 to 5 blocks.
Now, sometime in the early part of October 1946, after you were separated, did you meet your husband?
Yes.
Where were you when you met him?
I was on the West End Express going to work.
And where were you employed at that time?
At the Croydon Hat Company at 42 West 39th Street in Manhattan.
In order to get to your place of business, what station did you get off at?
The Times Square station.
So that you would get on at the 55th Street station in Brooklyn and get off at the Times Square station.
Yes.
Now, you say, then, that in early part of October 1946, you were on one of these trains bound for Manhattan, and it was there. It was on that train you met your husband?
Yes.
Did you have a talk with your husband?
I did, yes.
Were you feeling well on that occasion?
No.
And after you talked to your husband, what, if anything, did you do?
Well, we got off at 9th Avenue and crossed over and rode back to 55th Street because his car was parked at the exit of the station. He offered to drive me home so that I wouldn't have to walk when I wasn't feeling well.
Did you get into his automobile?
Yes, I did.
Did he drive you home?
No, he did not.
Where did he go?
He drove to Manhattan.
What, if anything, did he do in the automobile?
Well, he had a knife.
Sorry.
And
Well, he had a knife. It just...
Please, and just understand, folks, that Emily is laughing at Lindsay's
I'm
deliveries
laughing
of the
at
line.
She delivered.
It's
It was
not
just very
surprise.
like, well,
It's
he
not-
had a knife.
well, he had a fucking knife, all
Well,
right?
he had a knife.
Bro.
Sorry.
There you go.
He had a
Alright.
knife.
That was
And
funny.
it had a little button on it, and he pressed that knife and a big blade. He pressed that knife and a big blade shot out of it, and he pressed it up against my throat.
Did you try to get out of the automobile?
I asked him to stop the car so I could get out.
Did he stop the automobile?
No, he would not.
What did he do with this knife, if anything?
He held it up against my throat and said that he would kill me if I screamed or if I cried too loudly in the car.
Now, where did he drive to?
He drove toward the Manhattan Bridge, and we went over that, and then on the highway near Riverside Drive, and then toward the country places Poughkeepsie.
What happened up at Poughkeepsie? What did he do up at Poughkeepsie?
He stopped at one of the tourist cabins, and he rented a cabin.
Did you want to go into the cabin?
No.
What, if anything, did he do?
He had this knife in his pocket, and he told me that if I would scream out or anything to the lady who was renting us the room, he would kill me.
How long did you stay up in Poughkeepsie?
2 days.
Did you stay there of your own free will?
No, I did not.
Did he have any other weapons up there?
Yes. He had a shotgun, and he had a revolver, and the little knife he carried with him.
Now then, did he drive you back to New York after those 2 days?
Yes.
Where did he go when he drove back to New York?
He made me go to this place on Canal Street.
What kind of place was it?
It looked to me like a place that sells guns and shotguns.
Now, did he get anything there?
Yes.
What did he get there?
I saw the man hand him something, and he put it in his pocket.
What was it?
It was a revolver.
All right. Now that he got the revolver, did he do anything with the revolver insofar as you are concerned?
Yes, he did.
What did he do?
Well, we got in the car, and he held it up to my temple.
Now then, did he drive? Where did he drive after that?
He went back the same way again, back to Poughkeepsie to a different tourist cabin.
Did you go of your own free will?
No, I did not.
All right. Now, how long did you stay up there?
5 days altogether.
All right. Now, after 5 days, where did you go?
We drove back to Brooklyn.
And where did you go?
Went to my niece's home.
And what happened at your niece's home?
I collapsed on the steps there.
Did you ever go with your husband after that?
No.
Something happened on November 1st, 1946.
Yes.
Where were you when something happened?
I was in my home in the kitchen.
What happened?
I was helping Mother set the dinner table.
Keep your voice up, Olga.
I was helping Mother set the dinner table, and the window was open, and all of a sudden I felt a very sharp sting in my right leg, and when I bent down to touch it, it was bleeding.
What else did you observe about your leg at the time? Did you observe any hole?
Well, I could not see because it was bleeding so much. I couldn't not see.
Sometime after that, did you notice a hole?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And where was the hole?
It was in my thigh. There were 2 separate holes in my thigh, on the right side and on the back of my thigh.
Was an ambulance summoned?
Yes, we called the police.
You were confined in the hospital for a period of time?
I was there for 10 days.
And during that time, did you see any detectives?
Yes, I saw Detective O'Brien, and I believe he was assistant district attorney and a stenographer.
So you told them about about the trips to Poughkeepsie and the 5 days you were there with your husband?
Yes, I did.
And about the shooting in your home?
Yes, I said that I was positive it was my husband, that it couldn't have been anyone else.
Now, you went back to work on December 9th?
Yes.
Did someone go with you?
My sister did. She was employed on 37th Street in Manhattan, and she went with me.
What, if anything, did you observe the first day you went back to work?
As we were walking toward the station, there were elevated pillars on New Utrecht Avenue. I saw my husband in the back of one of them, and my sister did too.
What, if anything, happened after you got to work?
When I got to work, I called up the police at the 66th Precinct Station in Brooklyn, and I told them that I had seen him and that I was very frightened that he would do something to me. And I spoke to one of the detectives there at the precinct, and he told me not to worry.
Now, did you get a telephone call from your husband on December 9th at your place of business?
Yes, he called that very morning.
What did he say to you?
He said he was watching me. He knew everything. He knew when I went to work, and that he did not aim right the first time.
Ooh.
But that when he would aim again, he would kill me.
Did you tell the police about that?
I usually spoke to Lieutenant Giddings. He always answered the phone there. I told him please to send somebody to please have somebody escort me home, that I was afraid that I knew something terrible was going to happen to me, and he said that I should not worry.
And when was the next time you saw your husband?
Well, maybe a few days later, I used to see him on 39th Street lurking in hallways and behind cars. And I also saw him at Times Square Station one night when I was going home.
Now, how often did your husband telephone you at your place of business?
He called every single day.
And after he telephoned you, what did you do?
I always called the 66th precinct and spoke to the same detective there, and I used to repeat everything that he would say to me, and I would ask him to please send somebody to escort me home and take me to work. And they said what they always said, that I should not worry.
Now, you said that on one occasion you saw him in the Times Square subway station. Just about when was that?
I believe it was between the Christmas and New Year's holiday, one of those holidays that come between those holidays. That's accurate.
What did you do when you saw him?
I flew down the steps and I paid my fare, and there's another flight of steps that you have to go down to go to the trains. And during the rush hour, there's a guard there that stands there all the time. And I went and stood right next to him, and he saw that I was very frightened.
What did you say to him?
I told him, I'm so frightened. My husband is following me. I know he's going to do something terrible to me. Please, could I stand next to you? And he said I could not stay there because of the people that were going down the steps at the time.
Was this the rush hour?
Yes. He pointed to a pillar that was very close by and said that I should stand there until my train came in and that he would watch me from where he was. And then the West End Express pulled in and I got into the train and I went home.
Was there any occasion about that time when you saw your husband on the platform at the 55th station in Brooklyn?
Yes, I saw him. Yes. About a week and a half after I went back to work. It must have been around December 20th, around that time.
Did you tell the police about that?
It was Lieutenant Giddings. He promised he would send 2 detectives to the office and that I should wait for them after work and that they would be there and I should not go home until they arrived.
Who waited with you until the detectives arrived?
My sister. She came every evening and escorted me home.
Did the detectives drive you home?
Yes. I told them all about the threatening calls. I told them what he had said to me on the telephone, that he was going to kill me, and that I had better start saying my prayers. And I told him about the 5 days that I had been away from home, that he had kidnapped me, and I had related all the times that I used to see him on 55th Street, and the times that I saw him on 39th Street. And I related almost every little incident to them, because the ride is rather long to Brooklyn from 39th Street.
All right. Now, on December 30th, did you go anywhere?
Yes, I did. I went to see Police Inspector Reynolds at the Bergen Street headquarters.
Who did you go there with?
My brother-in-law.
What did you say to Mr. Reynolds?
I told him that I had to go to work and that my husband called me every day and he had shot me and that I knew that he was going to do something terrible to me and that he called me every day and I
Just take your time.
cannot catch my breath.
Take your time. There is no hurry.
I told him that I had to go to work because I had old parents and I was very afraid to ride on the train and that there was nobody to help me, that I came to him to please help me and do something for me.
All right. What did Inspector Reynolds do or say?
He asked me for the precinct. I told him it was the 66th precinct and that he asked somebody to get them on the telephone and he spoke to Lieutenant Giddings. He asked for him.
What did you hear him say to Lieutenant Giddings? Who, by the way, Lieutenant Giddings was
All of
part of
these
the
people
problem.
sound terrible. Like,
yeah.
just
I mean,
All she's doing is saying, I asked for help, and they basically told me to fuck off.
I asked for help.
I heard him say, there's a young lady here, Olga Trapani, Rocco. She was in a hysterical condition. Hysterical.
Gee.
She's crying and she's pleading with me to please help her. She told me that she has reported that she was shot on November 1st and that her husband calls her and threatens her daily and that she has seen him many times. And he repeated the story and the threats I had told him about how he had said he was going to aim right. And then he, Reynolds, said, "What are you doing, waiting for a homicide?" Then he told them to have some detectives at my home. And then he hung up and he told me that I would find the detectives there when I got home.
So I have to say, for Detective Reynolds, I'm sure you're in heaven at this point, but this is the only detective
Who gave a fuck?
who gave a fuck and was
Yeah.
just like, I love that. What are you waiting for? A homicide? Like, get your shit together.
Waiting for her to fucking die?
Right. Okay. Which, unfortunately, is still how we treat victims of domestic violence today.
Yep.
Okay.
Lord.
Sorry, I got a little feisty there. She got knocked over my microphone. All right, here we go. Did the detectives come to your home that evening?
Yes.
What detectives were they? What were their names?
I believe they were Detectives Cooperman and Kahn and McNally. And there was Detective O'Brien there too.
What did the detectives say to you at your home that evening?
They told me that I should not be frightened and that they were going to protect me and that they would guard me when I went to work and that nothing was going to happen to me.
Well, now, the next day, December 31st, did you leave your home with someone at the usual time in the morning?
Yes, with my sister.
Did you see any detectives that morning?
No.
Now, on the subway train, did you notice the girl that you now know to be Pearl Lusk?
Yes, I did.
Where was the girl when you first noticed her?
She was on the platform waiting for the train to come in.
What did you notice about her?
She was carrying a box, a rather large box, and it was wrapped Christmas wrappings, and it had something that protruded at one end of the box.
About what size was the box?
A little larger than a shoebox.
At that time, did you have any recollection that you had ever seen her before?
No.
Did you speak to her?
No.
Did she speak to you?
No.
Did you notice her at any time in the car?
Yes.
Where did she sit?
It was across from me, but with her back toward the front of the train.
Now, did your sister continue to Times Square?
No.
Where did she get off?
She got off on 34th Street.
All right. Now, when the doors opened at the Times Square station, just what happened?
Well, I took about 3 or 4 steps walking toward the 40th Street exit, and then all of a sudden...
On the platform?
On the platform. And all of a sudden, I heard a very loud blast, and I felt a very sharp pain in my left leg. And I bent down to sort of hold it, and I reeled over and fell down on my back. And then I remember people running toward me, and I remember a gentleman bending over, and I remember a girl, and the girl was Pearl Lusk.
You say you...
The girl who had been sitting in the train. She bent over me, and she said,
Now, get control of yourself.
"Oh my God, fuck you, bro."
Dude,
Right?
for fuck's this is not part of the transcription.
Right.
Just so we're clear. Fuck this guy.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay,
This
back.
motherfucker.
Now, get control of
Action.
yourself. What did you notice about yourself?
I did not feel my leg. It just didn't feel like it was there. And I was practically swimming in blood, bro. She didn't say bro.
She's adding her own words.
I'm
now.
getting mad
She's
for her.
gotten to the point where it's her own commentary.
This is one of the things I love about Lindsay is that, at some point she becomes
She just
her
gets
character.
really irritated and becomes the character.
From what part of your body were you swimming in blood?
All right, sir. All under me, all of me. And I remember talking to a subway guard. He said me for my name.
He asked.
Oh, he asked?
Yeah, asked, not said.
Wow.
Doesn't say said at all.
There's no said. There's no said anywhere. I kept thinking, why would she say he said me? Jesus Christ.
It's been a week. I'm telling you, something's
really
going
has.
on with the moon or something, and I fucking.
He asked me for my name, and he asked me for my telephone number, and I gave it to him. And then I remember being put on a stretcher and being carried up the steps. And I also remember being in the ambulance when they took me to the hospital. And I was in the emergency room there. And I remember they cut off my clothes. And the next morning, they cut off my legs 6 inches above my knee.
And that's the end of the transcript.
Yeah.
Now we're at our third part of the story. So, Rocco. Now, during her questioning, police showed Pearl a photo of Rocco and Olga from before their wedding, and Pearl ID'd him right away. He was wearing the same clothes in that picture that he had been wearing when they met. So police began to learn a little bit about Al Rocco.
Oh, Al.
In 1938, he had served a term in the Bucks County Jail for larceny. He'd been stealing cars in Manhattan and then selling them in the Bronx. But other than that, he had a fairly clean record. It's the probation report from that situation that gives us most of the information of what we know about Rocco. Now, he told the probation people that his parents had died when he was a child and he grew up in orphanages and foster homes. But I read another article that said his parents had separated and that he had been sent to live with a grandmother who couldn't control him, and then she had turned him over to the state. So I don't know which is true,
Either
but
way.
don't necessarily believe anything that comes out of Rocco's mouth. According to the probation report, Rocco denied using narcotics or drinking to excess, but did admit to being, quote, sexually promiscuous. He was not involved with any groups, and he only had a few friends. He, of course, blamed his actions on the hard-knock life he'd had to endure and the lack of guidance from elders. Clearly, Rocco is not the kind of man that can take responsibility for his own actions.
No.
It also hadn't helped Rocco that he was so good looking. Like, women often told him that he looked like a movie star, so not only did that feed his ego, but it allowed him to suck in women like Olga and Pearl.
Yeah.
This is the 1930s Tinder swindler.
1940s.
1940s Tinder swindler.
Really it is. That's one of the things
I
like,
mean,
that
he
came out
literally
so...
spotted a woman, targeted her, and to do.
I think initially when he asked Pearl out, I think he very much had an intention of trying to sleep with her, and then realized that here's a young, vulnerable girl,
willing, so excited,
right?
To
and
be independent and be on her own, and it's again, I can't say that I would immediately be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, you're having drinks with a guy, the conversation comes and it's like, okay, well, what do you do for work? I mean, he was well dressed, he was well put, he was put together, he seemed, and I mean, she had no reason not to believe that he was who he said he was.
Yeah.
So initially after this had happened, I mean, Rocco had disappeared, and police had initially had no leads to where he had gone. But All that changed when Rocco showed up at the house of Dominic Rizzo. He claimed that he had a lead on some scarce automobile parts. Now, the Rizzo family knew him, but they knew him as Alan Lamonti. And so they had no reason to connect. They had no reason to connect the man that the police were hunting, Al Rocco, with the man in their home, Alan Lamonti. So the next day, Mr. Rizzo, his nephew, and Alan, in quotes, drive out to the Catskills to get these scarce auto parts. They stopped in Cairo, New York to get a bite to eat, and while they were in the restaurant, Rocco stole their car, leaving Rizzo and his nephew stranded in essentially the middle of nowhere.
My God, fucking dick.
So Rizzo calls his wife to tell, her what had happened, and she goes through a travel bag that Mr. Lamonti had left. It contained 22 caliber ammunition and a bunch of documents with his real name, Al Rocco, or Rocco.
Like Al Roker.
Roker.
Yeah. What was really funny is that, so whenever I have a story like this, I research each individual person's name to see what comes up for them. And apparently there's a Japanese rap artist or something whose name is Al Rocco or Rocco or
Love
whatever.
that.
Oh my God, I'm looking
And I was
that
just
up right
this is not what I need.
now. This is not the man alive in the
Yeah,
story
Halfway
guide.
through the story, she's like, and now he's a rapper in
Yeah.
Japan,
All of a
I
sudden we're in Japan.
guess.
So after stealing the car, Rocco had driven about 30 miles to the northeast and entered the home of a Mr. and Mrs. Frank Nash. He did so at gunpoint and informed them that he would be staying indefinitely. However, the next day, Rocco had changed his mind. Initially, he told Mr. Nash that he wanted him to drive him back to New York City, but Mr. Nash was like, look, dude, my car, janky. My car is in need of repairs and it would never make it that far. So he hemmed and hawed and he kind of was like, well, I want to go here. No, I want to go here. But he finally settled on he wanted to go to his hunting buddy's farm. Now, police show up at the Nash farm about 30 minutes after Rocco had left. Mr. Nash told the police everything she knew, including that Rocco had taken one of their sleeping bags with him. And at this point, the police were hot on his tail.
Oof.
50 state police. This was there was a 9-state search out for this guy.
Ow.
So 50 state police and 2 detectives spotted the stolen car on the side of a mountain. It had recently snowed and there was about 10 inches of snow. Sorry, I'm giggling because
There's Al Rocco.
Lindsay found the
His
artist.
first-
I was
His
gonna
first
say.
song is Bruce
Yeah.
Lee.
I was just doing the Bruce Lee images.
Oh my
Nice.
God. By the time this episode comes out, Bruce Lee will
Yeah.
already be out. So
the Crow, Brandon.
sorry,
The Crow, but yeah,
the Crow.
But we talk about Bruce Lee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I keep calling it the Bruce Lee episode, and I know that that's not what it is. That's what
Technically.
it's called in my head.
There wouldn't be a brand without Bruce.
Yeah, true.
So it had recently snowed and there was about 10 inches of fresh snow on the ground. So it didn't take them long to track Rocco and find him in his sleeping bag, sleeping under a spruce
Sleeping under that spruce.
tree. Police surrounded Rocco and called for him to surrender. And one of the police officers fired a warning shot into the air. Rocco wakes up and he's still in his sleeping bag. Why are you laughing?
I was just imagining a fucking cop just shooting in the air and you waking the fuck up
Right,
like,
what? Yeah, and they're like,
God.
get down on the ground, surrender.
Jesus.
So they called for him to surrender, fired that warning shot. He woke up and just fired his gun 4 times in the direction of where he'd seen the flash
See, that's
from
what,
the warning
yeah.
shot. And
That's what happens.
the police, in turn, fired back and Swiss cheesed this asshole.
Well, that's not sad. Sorry.
He was still halfway in his sleeping bag after it was all he didn't even make it out of his sleeping bag.
Jesus.
Included in his possessions were 2 guns and a picture of Olga.
Oh.
I got 2 guns.
One
for each of ya.
When Olga heard the news of Rocco's death, she said, "Now I can sleep again."
Yeah.
Fucking no kidding, dude.
So
Jesus.
to end the story on a little bit of a nicer note, since she was merely a pawn in Rocco's plot, Pearl was cleared of charges and released.
Wow.
Thank God that's not what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, I really
Right?
thought
Yeah.
no matter what, they're gonna.
Olga eventually sued the New York City Police Department for failing to protect her,
Good.
but the case was ultimately
Fuck.
dismissed.
God damn it.
So while the judge was sympathetic to what had happened, it was like, and I mean, there was no doubt that the police failed to protect her. Like, nobody questioned that. The problem was that even if the police had been there, they would have been looking for him. They had no idea about Pearl. So they wouldn't have been looking for Pearl. And so it was determined that there was no way the police basically could have protected her from Pearl. So Pearl ended up getting married, and she had some children. Olga, scraped by a living selling costume jewelry, but she never received any type of restitution from losing her leg, which is just a real bummer.
Up.
Jesus Christ.
But on a positive note, this is the nicer note that I promised you after being like, but it was dismissed and she got no compensation. Olga and Pearl actually became friends.
That's awesome.
And, it was a friendship that was born out of trauma, but they would, they often would see each other over the years and they kept in touch. And
well, that's the one other person that knows what you went
Totally.
through.
Right.
Do you think she walked up to her and was like if this was today, I'd be like, remember that time I shot your leg off? Like, of course, that's what I think. Like, do you think they just don't talk about it, or do you think they're like, oh, remember
I
that
bet you
time?
they make a. I feel like privately they'd make a joke and they would
Shut off shotgun, am I right? Just really inappropriate jokes.
But yeah, so that, that was the
Fuck.
crazy tale of Pearl and Olga. And the thing that's crazy about it is, like, when you think about the ages of the people involved. So, like, Pearl was 19, Olga was 28, and Rocco was 29.
Oh my
Like,
God.
these people weren't even in their 30s.
They're my age.
And, with this madness happening. So, I mean, I think in the end, it's a good thing. Rocco, I mean, it's good that he was shot. I mean, because
honestly,
I don't think anybody
he would have
was
never
mourning
stopped, even if he was put in jail.
No.
He would have figured out a way, because
he definitely
when you're
would
that
never.
level, you always figure out a way.
Yeah. I mean, he was determined he was gonna take her out. So that's the story of Olga and Pearl. And I thought it was such a crazy
Great story.
And really different.
Yeah, very different. So I was like, yay, the only person that dies in my story is the bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Olga lost a limb, but she was able to
her
live
and
out
Pearl
there.
are traumatized, but
they were
made
both
the
able
best
to-
thing out of a shitty situation.
Yeah,
They really
exactly.
did. Yeah,
That's
they really did.
amazing. Wow, what a happy story. What a
That's
weird,
good.
different one. I can't even say that was terrible. I usually say that was fucking terrible. I mean, it was still terrible.
I mean, it's
but,
terrible.
like,
We are sorry that
I like that it was
Pearl- or
different.
that-
It's just
yeah.
con men will always be con men, no matter what fucking.
Doesn't matter if it's 1946 or 2021. Like,
Tinder fucking swindler.
did you see the story that I had posted? So just a reminder to everybody, we have our true crime discussion, our Three's a Crime discussion group. And there was a story a couple of weeks ago or a week or two ago about, which I guess is a couple of weeks, a brother who murdered his two young siblings. And in the article I'm reading
That's what I
that
remember
he
that.
had, at one point, he had killed, like, the family pet. And I'm like, listen, parents, I know you love your children. I know you don't want to believe
But
that
they're
your child
terrible.
might be a psychopath. But if your kid is killing the family pet, especially if you have other children at home, please
Get them
seek
help. Get
mental
help. Get
help. Because
Please get
that
help.
is not normal.
Stop it.
Stop it. Get some help.
Stop it. That's what I'm going to say now. Just
Yeah.
stop
Just
it.
stop it. Get some help.
it.
Wow.
All right. Well, that's it. So, everybody,
Oh.
especially McKenna, remember
Especially
who you
McKenna.
are and what you represent. Don't represent
Assholes.
assholes.
And if you're an asshole,
DV assholes.
go
Find
asshole
somebody else.
someone else.
Get help.
Yeah.
Get some
Just
help.
stop it. Get help.
Stop.
Just stop. Get some help.
We love you and we thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
And we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Three's a Crime is a true crime comedy and entertainment podcast with new episodes released every Wednesday.
We produce this show ourselves, so if you'd like to support us, head over to patreon.com/threesacrime-podcast, where you can unlock the full archive of bonus episodes and other benefits. All photos related to this case will be on our Instagram, and for where to listen, affiliate codes, and more, check out the link in our show notes.